he is also a coach. And I personally met Rodolfo through Integrity Seminars, which he also works for, and he's representing on behalf today of Integrity Seminars, which are the life-changing courses that I took about 3.5 years ago, and we met in one of those courses. So Rodolfo is a man and a coach doing his best to co-create a better world for everyone. He loves to learn and teach, and that is how we started working with Integrity Seminars. Today he'll be talking about accountability. That seriously was one of my biggest lessons, taking personal responsibility of our life and understanding that everything happening in our life is happening for us, and it's really, we manifested it whether we like it or not on a conscious level. And more specifically, he's going to be sharing on how, this is really cool, that accountability can help heal relationships between men and women. So please welcome Rono! Our first delicious stew! Nice, I love
All right, thank you. I want to start off just by giving thanks to Roz and Melissa and to all of you for being here today and allowing me to be on this stage today. I don't take it lightly, and so thank you for everyone for showing up. And so my name is Rodolfo Mentribar, or Rodo. I'm okay with Rodo, that's cool. I know Rodolfo sometimes is a mouthful for people, so Rodo's cool. Today I will be talking about accountability and gender conflicts. Not gonna lie, I've been pretty nervous for the last few weeks, right? A man delivering a talk about accountability and gender conflicts to a room full of women. So just wanted to get that out of the way first. What it's gonna look like, I'm gonna talk about first the opposite of accountability, so just victimization, that kind of thing. I'll give some examples in my own life to kind of show you guys what I mean by that. And then I'm going to move into kind of how men and women have been painted against each other through society and media and those kinds of things. And then I'm going to talk about why that's bullshit. And start to deconstruct this myth and delusion that we have that men and women need to be pitted against each other. And then I'm going to talk about how accountability is the solution and how we can start moving forward together. Does that sound good? Okay, awesome. So if we get started, we're going to move into what is victimization. So victimization is a frame of reference. So victimization is a frame of reference, a way of being that involves blame. Our society is totally based on victimization, right? If we look at the news, even the legal system is all about victimization. Something happened, who's to blame? There always has to be somebody to blame. This person was wrong, they need to be charged. This person was wrong, they wronged me. And it takes away our power, it takes away our participation, and it leads into just helplessness, passivity, loss of control, very pessimistic, very low vibe, and yeah, so it can be guilt, shame, and then hopelessness and despair become the norm when we're choosing from a victim state of mind. So from what we teach, there's 3 levels of victimization. At the very bottom, it starts with external blame. So this sounds like he, she, they did something to me. Somebody wronged me, and there's somebody to blame. That's what external blame is about. The next level, just above external blame, is self-blame. I showed up late. I made a wrong choice. I'm dumb. I'm stupid. That kind of thing. We start beating ourselves up, pick up the stick and beating ourselves over and over and over. That's what self-blame looks like. It must be me. Something's wrong with me. And then the next level of victim after that is self-righteous. So a lot of people get this confused with accountability, and it's not accountability. So what self-righteous looks like is, okay, well, clearly all those things I said about me aren't true. It's not them, but I'm still pissed off about it, and karma's a bitch. I hope something happens to them. So I'll give you guys some examples from my own life to kind of show what this looks like for me. So I grew up raised by women. My dad left when I was young. When I was 9 years old, he took off, and I've never seen him again. And so with external blame, I have a twin sister and an older sister that's 4 years older. And so then once me and my sister started moving into like puberty and that kind of age where things start changing and our lives start changing, our bodies start changing. And I look at her, and my mom and my older sister are helping her move through all of that. And then I was sitting there like, what the fuck? Like, nobody's helping me. And maybe it was like, someone's like, what's wrong with you guys? Why aren't you helping me? My dad, he's gone. He's not helping me, obviously. So I was really mad at the people around me in my world because I felt like there was nobody there for me. I was always alone. I had nobody to talk to. That's what my external blame looked like. If I move into what my self-blame looked like, there must be something wrong with me. Nobody wants to help me because I'm dumb, I'm not lovable. I must have did something wrong to make my dad leave, that he would want to be a part of my life. And I started beating myself up, and this led to a lot of Hello? Okay, perfect. And so this led to a lot of limiting beliefs that I formed about myself that have carried through into my adult life until I started addressing them when I first took our program's called The Gift. When I first took that 6.5 years ago and realized, I was like, holy shit, no wonder I have the relationships in my life when I think of myself as not lovable, as not, people don't want to talk to me, people don't want to be around me and that kind of thing. Self-righteous, I moved into, okay, well, I'm pretty awesome, I'm pretty cool, those things aren't true, and these people, for whatever reason, they did their thing, and again, right, I hope something happens to my dad. He's gonna be alone for the rest of his life. He's gonna this and that, right? So there's a good question to ask to know if you're in a victim mind state. It's just the energy you carry, right? When a situation or something is brought up and you get angry or you get triggered or it's probably being chosen from that victim mind state, right? So it took me a long time, over 20 years, for somebody to be able to bring up my dad, and I didn't get that. It took a very long time for me to get to that place. Okay, so now I want to kind of paint a little picture on how men and women have been kind of pitted against each other and how there's a lot of victimization in this whole conflict here. So I'm going to quote a man. His name is Pat Robertson. Does anyone know who he is? Has anyone heard of him? Yeah? Okay, so he was a televangelist in the 90s, very popular. He was even a presidential candidate for the Republican Party back then. So he had a lot of influence with men and in society. And this is what he had to say about feminism. So the feminist agenda is not about equal rights for women. It's about a socialist, anti-family, political movement that encourages women to leave their husbands, kill their children, practice witchcraft, destroy capitalism, and become a lesbian. Right? So this is right? So this was pretty extreme for somebody to say. And this is a man that has a lot of influence in our society back then to paint feminism in this sort of way. And these are the kinds of things that young men, boys, would see in the media, right? This is the kind of things I seen growing up, especially not just Pat Robertson. It's not just an isolated case, right? This is how music, right? I grew up listening to rap and hip hop. That's totally this, right? That's how our society and media and everything has painted feminism with this brush. So I can understand why a lot of men feel the way that they do, because feminism has been painted as anti-men, anti-capitalism, anti-family, anti-God, and all of that, when that's not what feminism is. Not at all. Exactly, right? Like feminism started, it was about wanting to vote, go to college, own property, and that kind of thing. It's not about witchcraft and all. What was that? Exactly. All right. So then definitely, someone like Pat Robertson would definitely be labeled as misogynist. Does anyone know what the opposite of a misogynist is? What the word for it is? Definitely not feminism. So the opposite of misogynist is misandrist, right? And I want to show too that misandrists do exist in this world. And so I'm going to quote a woman from the 60s that was very popular. She was a very radical feminist in the 60s that had a good following too. Her name's Valerie Solanas. So what she said was, to call a man an animal is to flatter him. He's a machine, a walking dildo. Right, again, this is another extreme example. And again, right, like this is not how women feel, I just want to show these two extreme examples to show where a lot of this conflict is coming from. Because this is a lot of what we're shown in the media. We're shown the extreme examples, we're shown the people that are radicals and that kind of thing. We're not shown people in this room, right? There's no news cameras here showing all the women stepping up and being powerful and that. There should be, but there's not. This is what we're being shown, and this is why there's a lot of men versus women conflicts today. Okay, so a big part of the delusion too is people have been told for 200 plus years that women hate men, right? That's a delusion, that's not true. Another part of it is the first feminist women in the US did so, that they did hate men in the late 1700s, and then it picked up steam in the 1800s. Another part of the delusion is that men and women were both fighting to try and maintain power or to get power. And it's like, what power are we trying to get, right? To me, it's not about power. It's about being equal, working together, walking together, supporting each other. Okay, so this is probably one of the most important parts of this, is so why do we even buy into the delusion? Why does the men versus women even have steam? Why is it even a thing, right? And so this is called, the reason for that is people would be irrational, is called diagnostic bias, right? And so what that is, the smallest change in the way someone is described can make a dramatic change in the way we interpret their behavior. So to give you guys an example of what this looks like, there was a study done with a group of students. And the next day, they were going to have a substitute teacher. Half of the students were sent home with a bio that depicted the teacher in a positive way. The other half of the students were given a bio that just depicted the teacher in a more negative way. Next day, teacher shows up, does the same thing to everybody. At the end of the day, all the students were asked to give feedback on the teacher. The half that were given a negative bio, what do you think they said about the teacher? Right? And then the same was true, vice versa. The ones that were given the positive bio ended up giving a positive review. And this is because we already formed our belief about who that person was going to be. We got a positive bio, and they're like, oh, I can't wait to hear this teacher. She's going to teach me something. I'm going to learn something. She's going to be awesome. Or the vice versa. This teacher's horrible. I don't want to go to school today. And that formed the feedback that those students gave. That's why we have this delusion now. Okay, so now let's start breaking down this delusion and start creating space for accountability and healing of men and women. So I want to start saying, like, being a strong woman does not mean you believe all men are rapists and abusers. Right? Being a strong woman does not mean that you think all men are evil. And also being a strong woman does not mean that you blame every individual man that you've ever known for hundreds of years of oppressive behavior. Right?
Girl power!
That's right. Thank you. Okay, so then if we start moving away from victimization into a solution, what is accountability? It's the prerequisite for personal evolution. No growth happens in victim. It's not until we start getting to an accountable mindset, accountable point of view, that we start to grow. Right? So if it's to be, it's up to me. So accountability, a framing device that eliminates blame of self and others, providing the power of choice, participation, co-creation, we're doing this together, of the experiences and results in our lives, real or imagined. Okay, so again, there's 3 levels to accountability. The first one is emotional response. So this means I may not be able to control or influence the events in my life, but I do get to choose how I feel about them, and I choose to respond without blame. That's a big one. Emotional response, I choose how to respond. That's the biggest part of the emotional response. No one can make you feel a certain way. It's up to you and choosing how you respond. Because victimization is very real, right? Things happen to you, people do things to you. The difference between victimization and being personally accountable is how you respond. Practical accountability. This is when we start to ask questions. What choices did I make that helped co-create this situation? What role did I play in? And when we can get to that role to see how we call this into our lives, then we get to the lesson. It's like, what's the lesson in this for me? And then we get to start to apply that lesson. The next level, the last level, is spiritual accountability. So this one does require us to believe in a soul, reincarnation, that kind of thing. And if you don't, that's cool. Practical and emotional are definitely more than enough to start helping us move forward. So what spiritual accountability looks like, what's your name, Sveta? Sveta? So it was exactly what she talked about when she stood up. We're spiritual beings having a human experience, not the other way around. And before I came here, I chose my parents, I chose my family, I chose the themes in my life, I chose the lessons I was going to learn so that I can evolve on a soul level. I'm going to give you guys an example for myself. So emotional response, if I go back to my victim story, I was like, okay, my dad's gone, I can't change that. I can sit here and be grateful that my mom is here, that my sisters are here, and that they love me and they support me, and I'm happy about that. That's what my emotional response looks like. Practical accountability looks like my dad left, and that caused me to learn how to be a man on my own. That caused me to be powerful, to stand on my own, know how it feels, so that I can help the next generation not be alone. Spiritual accountability, I chose my dad. I knew he was going to leave, and I chose that because I needed to learn that lesson. And I'll even tell you guys, last year I started volunteering with an organization in Edmonton that works with troubled youth. I was partnered up with a little boy. Do you guys remember how old I said when my dad left? 9. Guess how old that boy was? He even looks like me. And when I take him places, people think he's my son. Right? I wouldn't be able to do that had I never learned the lessons I did from my dad. And that's part of the things that happen that points us in the direction of our mission and what we're here to do. Okay.
I know, don't you guys just love Royal?
Thank you. Okay, so why does this matter to you, and why am I talking about this? Why am I up here talking about this, right? So are any of your customers or clients now? Right? Are your customers or clients women who are in relationships with men? Are some of your intended support people men? Right? So I know at least everyone in this room could have at least answered yes to one of those questions. Right? Okay, so sensationalism is great distraction. So right, I want to start changing the conversation and stop oppressed groups from being on the defensive and start moving into accountability and healing and that kind of thing so we can move forward. It's time to move forward. It's 2019. It's not 1500s anymore, right? Where so let's use accountability to heal. Social change is slow, and I don't know if you guys are ready to lead. I can't do it by myself, right? We need women, men, especially men. I went to a talk last night, and a woman told a very powerful story about how her husband stepped up in their relationship to start leading and meet her. Because you guys are way ahead of men right now on this whole personal evolution and personal development. You guys are way ahead, and we need men to step up to meet you guys, right? Because right now it's pretty crazy that if you're born a certain way, you're going to be oppressed, right? It's pretty much every identity group other than like the white straight male is being victimized, right? So let's start changing that. So my call to action, right? The only choice we get to make is what we're going to do with the privilege we're given, right? We live in Canada. We're pretty well off. We're pretty privileged to live here, right? I was born in El Salvador. People in El Salvador aren't doing these kinds of things, right? They just want to survive and live to the next day and where am I going to keep and that kind of thing, right? So to whom much is given, much is expected kind of thing, right? So yeah, are we going to use this privilege to build a more equitable society for mothers, sisters, daughters, all human beings, all genders, everything, right? So it's your call. My call to action here is I want to tell you about our introductory course. It's called The Gift. It's a 3-day course. So it's designed for healthy, successful adults who want more in their lives. We utilize experiential learning. So what experiential learning is, right? Like everyone knows how to ride a bike, right? So did you guys go to a Tony Robbins motivational event and learn how to ride a bike, right? So you got on the bike and you rode. You probably fell a couple times and stuff. So that's how we are. So we teach you something and then it's like, hey, do it. There's about 30-ish activities you do in the 3 days. So we all have beliefs. Some are limiting, some support us, right? Some of the ones I mentioned that I'm not lovable, I'm not good, people don't like talking to me, those are limiting beliefs. And until we do the work to uncover what those beliefs are, they're gonna keep holding us back. And there's some beliefs that support us, like when I cross the street, I look both ways. That belief keeps me safe. All right, so the purpose of the gift is to identify those beliefs. Because a lot of the times we don't know we have those beliefs. If you asked me 10 years ago if I was lovable, I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm totally lovable, but deep down inside I didn't believe it. Right? So a lot of these are subconscious, unconscious beliefs that we don't know about until we start peeling back the layers. That's what the gift's designed to do. This is what it looks like. So like I said, 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The next date, September 6th to 8th. Right now we're in Edmonton. We're doing one the following week in Vancouver. If there's enough interest in that kind of thing, because this company started in Calgary actually. It used to be called Personal Best. Maybe some of you heard it through that name. So we're definitely interested in coming back to Calgary if there's enough interest. So there's 12 pillars. The first pillar, I embrace personal accountability. Pillar 12 is I support entrepreneurship. So it goes through all of life. There's ground rules to keep it a safe space, kind of how we did at the beginning with just confidentiality and that kind of thing. Choice is very powerful. Agreements. When we break agreements, what is it costing us, right? Is anyone a snooze person? Hit the snooze button in the morning, right? Right? We're starting our day with a broken agreement. What is that costing us in our lives? The game of life, what do you want? Relationships, considerations, what's getting in the way? We'll work on abundance. So some of the potential results for personal, heightened self-awareness, recognition of the limiting beliefs, realization of our personal abilities, shift from being controlled to being in charge, so from being victim to accountable, And then commitment of our personal relationships, leadership, and some of the professional, our communication improves, time management, decision making, less stress. You guys can read the rest. So if you're interested, I'm doing a draw for a free course for the September one in Edmonton. You can sign up. I'll put you guys in a draw. We'll do that tomorrow. Regularly, the course is $597. For all of you, it'll be $297 if you want to do it.
Oh my God, do it.
There should be something. There should be something in your swag bags that has the details and all of that. If you have questions, definitely come see me. Like I said, even if you guys are just interested, you don't want to come to Edmonton or you want to know more, or definitely want to come to Calgary and do an open house, that kind of thing, you can meet Rayanne. She's the facilitator. She's been doing this work almost as long as I've been alive, probably longer. And you guys.
She's my life, Dad. She's incredible.
Yeah, she's an amazing woman, changed my life. When I walked into that room 6.5 years ago, I was totally lost. I didn't know what I was going to do with my life next, and now I'm here speaking to a group of powerful, amazing women, and that's all I have for today, so thank you for listening, and thank you, Rob.